Hello, I'm Catherine Maguire. Welcome to the Soul Alchemist Podcast. If you are on a journey of personal or spiritual growth, you are in the right place. It's my desire each week to share wisdom, inspiration, and practical tools with you to help you remember who you are, to reconnect to your inner gold, and live a joyful, fulfilling life. Welcome along to the podcast. Oh, we have something delicious today. So, today, we have another fabulous soul alchemist sharing their journey with you, which I'm really excited about. So I would really love to introduce you to the one and only Miss Anne-Marie Lowry, all the way from Dublin, who, I had this that I was talking to Kate a couple of weeks and Vincent a few weeks ago, which is like when you say to someone, how do you want me to introduce you? And our default setting is to go to our job. So I want to share to you, like, not really about what Anne-Marie does. Anne-Marie works in corporate, but I want you to share just more of the human that she is, which is a gorgeous human being with a big, glorious, gorgeous heart. She's an athlete. She's doing her first Ironman later this year, which I can't even get my head around. She's crazy, but she's also a lover of nature, a lover of life, a gorgeous human. She's a former client of mine and someone I am very delighted to call my friend. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the one and only Anne-Marie Lowry.
Oh, thank you, Catherine. Jeez, what what an intro.
All true.
Day, please.
It's all true. Thanks for coming along. It's so lovely to have you here.
Oh, likewise. And even just listening to your intro there, I was like, "Oh, this is me. I'm part of this today because I listen to it every week. So hearing it in real time is yeah, it's a little surreal. It's brilliant.
Oh, it's great. That Anne-Marie is one of the great cheerleaders of this podcast. And every week she texts me and says, listen to the episode. This is what I thought of it. This is how it went. So it's brilliant. So it's lovely to have you here in the flesh, so to speak.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So my desire in doing these interviews was to help people really see the inner work journey, the soul alchemy journey from a different perspective. Because I think, we were talking about this earlier, that sometimes when you're doing this journey or you're on this journey, it can seem a bit solitary. Sometimes you're wondering, dear God, will it make a difference? Is it worth the while? Is it worth, you know, the investment of my time and energy and all that good stuff? And I think we can get into a kind of a compare and contrast. Well, they're doing this and this is how their life's going, or I'm doing this and it's not going well, or will I ever see, the wood for the trees? So part of my desire in these conversations is really to let people see that everyone's journey is different. What everybody gets out of it is something different, but it definitely makes a difference in a way that is unique to you. So I'm really delighted you came along today. I'm really delighted you're here to share your journey. And do you want to tell people why did you even start? What got you started on the inner work journey?
Yeah, I think I was thinking about this as maybe about 10 years ago. And I was having a bit of a rough run of it in the fun world that is corporate. And yeah, I got to a point where I was a job that was not suiting me, in an environment that was toxic, and it was quite a lonely place to be because I was in a standalone role. And yeah, so day in, day out, I was kind of going in thinking, this is not for me, this is not for me. But I was like, give it time, give it time. And then there was one day, before working from home was really a thing, I was working from home because I used to do it to try and hide from the environment. Um, and there was one day I was working from home and something minor happened in work, but it absolutely tipped me over the edge. And I just thought to myself, I was like, well, that response really isn't a natural response. And it was quite over indexed and it just sent me into a complete and utter spiral. So I still remember that day quite vividly, but I ended up just picking up the phone and ringing the EAP, which is the Employee Assistance Program. And just knew then I need to talk to someone because I need to put a bit of support around me and how I navigate in this world of work, and particularly that job that I was in at that time. So I think that one call sort of catapulted me into it. I kind of always had an interest in it. I trained as a coach and all of that as part of work. And So I was always quite interested in it, but that was the first time I really went into doing work in with a therapist, and just met this beautiful woman named Anna, who I'm still in touch with. And I thought I was going in with sessions with Anna through the EAP to fix the thing about the job. And then we were a couple of sessions in, and I had this light bulb moment where I was like, this is not about the job. And we started to unpack it, and it was just one of those times where it really just hit home of how all of life experience, how what I've experienced through my eyes and my version of the world, and how that carries you for good and bad, and what's serving you and what's not. So that was one of the moments where I started into doing a lot of therapy at that point, but it was never about the job. It was about me and what was happening internally for me. So yeah, it's still a really vivid moment. And I've kind of, it's like everything, I've ebbed and flowed with work since then. Probably more mainstream in terms, if you think about talk therapy, but also, kinesiology, shamanic work, the brilliant work with you. I've done Kundalini activation, energy work. So, yeah, I mean, if it's, I'm the type of person where I'm like, sure, I'll give that a go and see what comes up for me. So yeah, that was the start of it, I think.
And what do you think changed then? Because like, well, I think I have two questions there, but one of the first is like, what do you think changed from that first body of work? What changed in your life for you?
I think I started to show up differently for myself, but that took a long time to do. Because I think I'm so naive and so green when you think back on it. I thought genuinely a couple of sessions and I'd be sorted and be like good to go again. But I think if I think back on, say, even the last good number of years of various different things that has happened in terms of life and work and whatever, um, I've continued to show up better each time for myself. Um, but it wasn't just the therapy that helped. It was kind of like a combination of a lot of things. Um, and then it was, yeah, I suppose I show up differently for myself. I advocate better for myself. It has changed a lot of even internal say relationship with food, relationship with training, those very practical things, that just gives you a bit of, kind of loosens the grip a bit, and it just allows you to have more joy and to see the world in a lighter way, because I would have been absolute queen of um, a lot of, being really, really tough on myself, and being still love a good structure, but I mean, really, on really, I suppose, nearly white knuckling the structure of like, this is how it will be, and this is really measured. And it's sort of, it freed me up from that, and it kind of gave me a lightness around that. Yeah. So I
That's
think
so,
yeah, that's how it
that's
came.
lovely. And the other thing I want to ask is, yeah, and it kind of, if you go back, I know that's like you're going back in 10, time, 10 years. So it can be kind of, it can be, it looks different when you look back at it from now to actually looking at the time, time changes your perspective. But if you go back then, because I know like I would have quite a few clients who like that would work in corporate or would have quite, quote unquote professional careers. And I think there's a big fear, and I think that's such a great phrase you said about like white knuckling your structure. But like if you're kind of white knuckling your career, you're afraid to loosen your grip on it. If you like, you know, go for counseling or go for some kind of therapy or just even take a time out, it's like there's almost some kind of weakness there that you're never going to recoup again, or it's kind of like there's a dint in the armor of your professionalism, or you'll be judged by your colleagues or by your seniors or whatever it is. So how would you like what would you say to someone who is where you were 10 years ago, really struggling? What would your advice be?
I think there's a piece of you instinctively know something is off, and to follow the nudge or follow the draw, and to go for it. I mean, when you talk about the chink in your armor, I mean, at that point, nobody knew I was doing therapy. I sure as hell was not telling anybody in that work, because it would have been, it was very masculine energy, and there wasn't and I would have thrived really well in that, because it was like goals, do more, more, more. And I really struggled with the softening and the vulnerability, and just softening more into the feminine energy of it. Um, but I would say you won't regret doing it. And I think if I was to say this to myself 10 years ago, is going, you instinctively know that you need to do this and that you want to do this. Um, and it will absolutely pay off, but nobody needs to know until you're ready to share it. And so you might never be ready to share it, but it's not about anybody else. You're doing it for you. And if it gives you more internal tools to be able to show up differently, to advocate differently for yourself, um, to build in better boundaries, then do it. Like, yeah, people will start experiencing you differently, but there's just a real confidence and power in, I mean this in a very positive sense, in terms of taking some control back on how you're showing up and how you're advocating for yourself. Now, when I say this, I mean, I don't have everything solved, or I'm not. I mean, the work boundary piece for me still is a challenge, and is still something that I can really have to navigate. But I now have people around me who'll be able to call me on it. But I'll also notice things within myself, so that I don't end up where I was, that period of time in my life where I was deeply unhappy.
And where do you think you would be if you hadn't made that call and gotten help 10 years ago? Where do you think you'd be now?
Oh, great question. I think I'd be spinning wheels, and I think I would be wondering why I'm no further along, and I'd nearly think I'd be at a point where I'm like, well, this is just how life is. And it's certainly not how life is. Yeah, I think I would have just went around in circles, and thought to myself I might be evolving, air quotes, but not actually evolving, and just repeating the same thing over and over, of going, moving to the next job, the same thing happens, moving to the next job, the same thing happens. Um, and it's not just in my work life, but it's also my personal life of, it has shifted things, with personal relationships, with friendships, with it's only when you actually stop to think about it, it's hard work, and there's a reason people shy away from it. And there's been many times where I've really, really gone, why did I even start this? Because you're in the thick of it, and then you're like, make this pain go away. But you're like, no, just trust the process. Um, but it's only when when time passes and you've actually done the work, you go, oh, actually, I have moved on a bit from this, or I've let go of that, or I'm actually more comfortable this way now, or I own my voice more.
Oh, I love that. And what do you think, or what would you share? Like, because I know this work can be hard, and I know, for me, there's kind of two types of inner work. There's inner work where you kind of tread water, all right, which is you kind of go through the motions of doing things. You might do something, but it's kind of inner work light. That's how I describe it. And if that's what you're able for, and if that's what the person's able for, I would sooner you do inner work light than nothing at all. But then there's inner work deep, which is more the world I inhabit, which is, you go in and you really meet those parts of yourself. You meet the parts of yourself maybe that feel uncomfortable, or you've put those parts of yourself inside for a reason. That's why we call inner work, because you have to go in and have a look at them and retrieve them. But my intention would be, to hold a really safe space, a really, a container with integrity where, okay, the work might be hard, but you're safe and you're held. So what do you feel like, 10 years into your inner work journey, what do you feel like, what's the gift? What's the boon? What's the prize for looking at those real gnarly bits?
I'm really glad you said you inhabit the inner deep, because as you were saying, I was like, oh, that's definitely you. Um, yeah, I actually, and do you know what? I actually think I was probably on inner light work up until there was there was I remember I was sitting at my desk at the one day in work, but this time last year, text you said, "Are you still doing your one-to-one work? I'm good to go." And um, so I think that's maybe in the last 12, 18 months, I've really started to kind of go in on the in deeper. And I think I was actually great at sitting in the dark and the shadow of who I am. But I think one of the prizes that you get from doing real deep work with stuff like with the work that you do is you get to uncover all of the great things as well, and the stuff that you kind of, not that you take for granted, but you don't actually realize, and you don't realize that you have it. And there's real magic to that, and there's real, it's just real, it's really powerful work that you, yeah, it loosens the grip on. It's changed my relationship with grief, for example. It has allowed an openness, and it has opened my energy for other things to come into my world that genuinely I wouldn't have even thought in a million years would have happened. And it's sort of, it really has you believing in, it has me believing in magic and awe of life. But then there's also other elements whereby starting that work, I would have never have thought it would have changed my relationship with water, for example. I had a massive fear of open water, and for somebody who does triathlons, it that sounds a little counterintuitive. But at the start of every season, when we would get into open water, I would absolutely have a meltdown. Now, genuinely would be just utter panic in the water. And so there are things, and there are areas of like the gold, but then there are other little nice Brucey bonus pieces that I would have never have thought would have happened. But I no longer have a fear of water. I get into open water now, and there's joy to it, and there's a lightness to it, and there's a nearly like, when you get into the water and as a kid, it's just that playfulness. And so, yeah, there's just, I think you can never really really think about or really understand all of the greatness that can happen unless you actually go deep with it. Um, yeah, but never in a million years did I think some of this would happen. But
Oh, I love that. And I think that's what, that's such a great point. And I think I've seen that in your journey. It's like all these unexpected side effects that filtered into your life. But I suppose before we get into that, let's just go back a bit in time. So you did your counseling, you did your therapy, then fast forward, like, so what was it? What was the next nudge, the next push then that that got you to get in touch with me. So what was that next kind of piece that you were ready to work on, if you want to share?
Yeah, I think so. I had a couple of tough years personally. I lost my dad suddenly. I had a couple of relationships that I ended up being very hurt off the back of. And there was just this point where I said to myself, patterns are starting to repeat itself here now. So you need to do something different. And I knew it wasn't, I knew I didn't need more therapy. I knew I knew I needed something different and something that I'd never done before and something that was just going to push me into a different sort of an orbit, if you like. And so yeah, it was a bit like the am I spinning wheels again? And just went, no, actually, just jump into this and see what happens. I hadn't a clue what we were about to do. Not a clue. But I just knew.
Yeah, I actually remember you messaging me. And I remember you messaging me. I think we did chat. And then you were like, right, I'm up for this. I actually don't know what I'm up for, but I'm up for this. I remember that.
So do I. Yeah. But I just knew to trust you. And that it comes back to the instinct piece of you know in your being and you know it's the right thing. Um, but yeah, hadn't a breeze. I hadn't a clue what we were about to do.
But there was something
Um,
lovely in that because then you just showed up so fully with no, like, no kind of predetermined, it's going to be like this. Yes, I want to kind of explore this, but I'm also open to wherever it goes.
yeah, yeah. And I think allowing that openness and allowing it to go wherever it went to, I think that's where I ended up getting even more out of it. Um, because I just I I trusted you, I trusted the whole work around it, the whole process, the whole energy around it. I just kind of knew I needed something different. And yeah, but yeah, I was just straight in, but straight into what I did not know.
You were talking there a second ago or a couple of minutes ago, and you were saying about, losing your dad suddenly. And I think that's a big thing, and grief is a big journey for people. So do you want to share a little bit about that? Because you said your relationship with grief changed, which I think is something huge.
Massive, massive. So, I mean, yeah, so I think I think it was probably always sort of again white-knuckling it. I think the first year of grief, you're just learning to survive it, and you don't really, you've never, I had experienced grief before, but not to this level, and it was so sudden and all of that. But yeah, I think it gave a lightness to it. So we're at when I started 3, 4 years on now at this point, and well, when I started to work with you, we were about 3 years into grief, and yeah, I think it gave it's never going to go away. It's always going to be a part of me, but I think if you think the grief is the black ball in the jar, my jar got bigger, and it gave me an opportunity to go, actually, you're okay to live. You don't have to be in the guilt because you're living and life is moving on. But it's also just yeah, it comes back to the playfulness and just the finding joy again in life and changing. I think it kind of also gave me a different perspective on maybe how other people in my family are also grieving, but might be grieving in a very different way and a very different process to me. And yeah, I think it just softened everything for me. It's still there, of course, but yeah, it's softer now, and there's such a freedom to that, which again, I thought, okay, well, this is just one of the things that you carry through life. But I didn't think that I would be able to change it on that level because it's on such a deep level when you lose someone close.
Yeah. Oh, that's gorgeous. Thank you. Thank you. There's a theme emerging as we're talking, which is a theme about softness I'm hearing from you. And then definitely another theme about, you know, like just kind of the filter effect, the knock-on effect of the inner work you've done, just rippling out into all sorts of different ways into your everyday life, like into the water around grief or things. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Around the softness.
Yeah, or about the ripple effect.
Oh yeah. Sorry, Catherine. Ask me the question again. Sorry.
Right. And I'm just wondering because I can hear that theme of softness, like, that you're softening in different ways to yourself and softening into yourself. And I think we live in a world, where we put a lot of pride on hard. I'll be hard, I'll be tough, I'll be strong. And yet I'm hearing this lovely softness come in. And as a result of that softness, just your life experience is opening up. So as someone who's doing what you're doing, maybe or what you were doing, which is the white knuckling, what would you say about it?
I think, oh, it's a great question. It's like it's a ripple effect in a positive sense. And I think in the last certainly in the with grief and all of that, I was just used to a negative ripple. And this has been like actually because we had conversations of even the law of averages of actually if you have this much in the negative ripple, it's you can also have a positive ripple. But I think on the softness, yeah, I think that's again, it's not necessarily about anyone, it's not about anyone else, but I think there's just a softness in me now. I actually think because of it, I actually am more comfortable in a feminine energy and I am way more open to receive. Now that has been a journey and a bit of work in order to get to that. But there is it's like the multiplier effect. Like the I think when I started to see real that softness come in, um, I saw more of it come in. And then the more I saw come in, I just said, okay, this actually isn't too bad. You're not, you're still able to be fully grounded in yourself. And yeah, you can function over in like masculine energy, but also you can also, you're safe, I suppose, to sit in the feminine energy and to be softer and to not have to keep pushing. Um, and yeah, it's just there's a freedom to it, to be honest with you. But there's, I think because it's the real deep work, yes, there's a freedom to it, but I think because you're so grounded in who you are and you know yourself fundamentally a lot more that you just know you're safe even just sitting in the softness and that you just kind of care less, to be honest with you, about like, okay, well, I'm going to be sitting here in my softness, but you do you. So it's a freedom. It's amazing.
All of that. I really love that. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. So what would you like to share? What's the Anne-Marie wisdom you'd like to share with someone? Either they're on the journey or they're where you were 10 years ago or they're somewhere in between. Like what's the Anne-Marie wisdom you'd want to put out in the world today?
I think it's the juice is worth the squeeze.
Oh, I think
Uh,
we need that on a t-shirt. Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
it is though. I think it's the harder you squeeze it, the more juice you'll get out of it. Um, because it's hard. It is hard. It's like when you start cleaning out your wardrobe and you start it and you go, oh God, why did I start this? And it is just you're sitting there and there's clothes everywhere. And but you don't know what you're keeping and what you're gonna put back in the wardrobe. And But then you get to the end of the process and you go, ah, actually, that was so worth it. But there's a messiness in the middle of it. But I think there's so much. I think you really see what you're about in the messiness as well, and also your capability and your capacity to actually do more and be more for yourself. That I think it's hard. It's nearly harder not to start, but to trust the inner instinct and your gut to go keep going on it, even though it's a bit messy and it's a bit sloppy and like it's a bit ugly. And I mean, I've had plenty of spirals where it has not been pleasant, but you kind of come out the other side and you go, okay, right, well, I know a little bit more about myself there. Um, but as much as maybe I know I think I said this already, but I'm I was great at sitting in my shadows, but to not be afraid to sit in the brightness and all of the gold and all of the good things that maybe other people see in you but you don't see in yourself. So yeah, the juice is worth the squeeze.
Love that. The juice is worth the squeeze. Oh, it's gorgeous. And I think you have a really important point there. I think definitely, I think I've said this before in the podcast, but I definitely see it in my work. Culturally, there is a difference about how we hold or we engage with those different parts of ourselves. So definitely Irish people, and I have a friend who's Jamaican and she'd say the same, which is we're really good at like holding the black, holding the dark. This is kind of the oogie boogie parts of myself, right? And definitely Irish people, we're not so good at going, this is me, I'm amazing. This is who I am. There's other cultures who are really good at going, this is me, I'm who amazing, but don't look at the oogie boogie underbelly of what's going on. So I think there's a real beauty in that, in going that we need actually both. Like the more we sit with both aspects of ourselves, the more we ground down into who we are, and then we can expand into our vastness and our greatness as well. And there's something lovely hearing you talking about that, which is that, and that is the alchemy point, which when both those points meet, the dark and the light, and you're like, oh, that's me. I'm all of this, and I can hold all of it without shame, without guilt, without remorse, without, being shy or abashed or holding back.
Totally. Yeah. But I think definitely being Irish, and there is a piece of who's your one there now sitting in the gold in the lightness. But I think when you do the work, it actually it's you're not it's not coming from an ego point of view. You're coming from a no, this is who I am. And that's cool. Equally the same way you'd respect it in somebody else if that's how they were showing up as well. So yeah.
Gorgeous. Anne-Marie, thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing your story. I know loads of people will get inspiration from it. And thank you so much. We now need to go and get a t-shirt. The juice is worth the squeeze.
Oh, such a pleasure, Catherine. Thank you.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. Thank you. And thank you, everyone who listened this week. I would love your feedback. Let me know if Anne-Marie's story resonated with you. Let me know what landed. Let me know what helped. Leave us a comment or message me. And as always, if you enjoy the podcast, please do share with a friend, like or comment. It helps the algorithm kick into action so other people can find it. But for this week, thank you so much, Anne-Marie. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Slán agus ciao.